Hi, I'm Dr. David Smith, and this is my YouTube channel, Doc and Roll. I don't know what I'm doing. Hopefully, I will figure it out, and we can have fun along the way. Anybody that decides to subscribe to the channel that likes these little broadcasts of mine, please let people know. More people, the more fun it is to do more. But one way or another, you just stick with me through the growing pains as I figure out how to do all of these things. I am fairly technical despite being in that middle-aged age range, and I'll get the video quality up better. But to let you know, I am a pediatric emergency physician, a board-certified pediatrician. I've been practicing over 20 years or so. I have 4 teenage daughters. They are 19, 17, 15, and 13, which means that I have parented and doctored well enough that they survived at least this far. I also have a wide range of interests that I'll probably bring to the channel over time. I enjoy playing poker. I'm a runner, relatively athletic. I'm interested in politics, so we'll talk about a number of things. Mostly we're going to talk about parenting and health. I plan to touch on men's issues as well as politics, sports, maybe even cooking. That's one of my little hobbies. I watch Chopped and Top Chef and all of those things, so there won't be just pediatrics or just medicine. We plan to hit on a few things over time. At most, though, I hope to educate and entertain. I like to think that this will be somewhat in the vein of if John Oliver and Dr. Oz crossed paths, assuming that Dr. Oz hadn't already lost most of his medical credibility, but with that kind of presentation and charisma. The first thing I wanted to talk about was fever. People get very afraid of fever. It's probably one of the things I get called to discuss the most. It drives most of the visits to the pediatric emergency departments, the urgent care clinics, oftentimes the primary care offices as well. And everybody gets so worried about it. And I get, Dr. Dave, his temperature is 102. We gave him Tylenol and it hasn't gone down in the last 20 minutes. What do we do? And I say, stop taking the temperatures, right? Throw your thermometer out. The number is pretty meaningless. Now, there are caveats to that. The number becomes important with certain medical conditions, immune problems, and such. But even for those patients, it's not the fever that's important. We're not worried because it's 102 and that 102 is going to do something bad. It's because that higher temperature means that there's an infection brewing, and for somebody with an impaired immune system, you want to get that child checked sooner rather than later. But what is fever? Why do we do it? And one of the biggest things to get across to people is that fever is not something the infection does to us. Fever is something we do to the infection. And so the body makes fever happen on purpose. The immune system reacts, it sends a signal to the brain cranks the thermometer up, and we get warm. This is actually something that protects the body. It is not something that, and this is something I've got to learn too, is to mute my phone in the middle of recording videos. I'm going to leave this in though, because I think it sort of keeps things real. But fever is something that protects the body. And that protection is very important. The higher temperature makes the body a harder place for infection to live in and helps us kill it. So the body is designed to generate fever, and because it's designed to generate fever, it's also designed to tolerate fever. Fever is our friend. It makes us better. The higher the number, the more miserable we feel, but the data tell us it does not do any harm. Now, there's a small percentage of children that will have a brief seizure with some fevers. These only occur between the ages of 6 months and 6 years typically. Only about 1 out of every 20 to 25 children is capable of doing it, and even these are harmless. Okay, so there's no truth to the rumors that fevers cause brain damage or hurt the body or anything like that. And I know some people are going to be like, "But I know this kid." I can guarantee you, if you've heard a story where a kid had a fever and the fever gave him brain damage, there's a big part of the story that you are missing, or that the parent that you're talking to didn't quite understand. Fever's our friend. So it's really important to realize that when we treat fever, we're just doing it to keep a child comfortable. Hey, let me tell you, after getting 4 kids through the toddler age range, I know for one that if you can make a toddler feel better when they're sick, you do that, and that's fine. But the only reason we treat fever is just to make the child comfortable. It's not because we're worried they're going to have brain damage or anything like that. And so when you're trying to figure out how bad an illness is, the key is figuring out what's going on besides the fever. The number's a sideshow. Kids will go anywhere. Be 103, be 101, be 105. Go all over the place. And just because you happen to measure it at this moment when it was 101, it might have been 104 30 minutes ago. So you really don't know. It doesn't give you useful information. What does give you useful information? How does he look? Does he look too sick? Have you ever seen him look this sick before? Does the symptoms like cough, vomiting, diarrhea, signs of pain, are they getting out of control? Hey, the right thing to do is whatever lets you sleep. So if you're getting worried about your child and you're not going to be able to sleep unless somebody looks at him, then you take him in. And that is true even if he doesn't have a fever. On the other hand, I've had kids who are 105 and they're playing on a tablet. Not worried about that kid. So the key is what else is going on. The mommometer is more sensitive than the thermometer. So really, in the end, it doesn't really matter if it's going up and down. We expect that. Most fevers will last anywhere from 2 to 5 days. If the child seems overly sick, if the symptoms besides the fever are getting out of control, that's when you take him in. On the other hand, if you look at your child and you're like, "Hey, we've been here before, he's sick, he's miserable, he's going to get through it," go with that. Obviously, if your child's unimmunized, especially younger children under 2, or if he has some complicating medical condition, especially ones that affect the immune system in some way, anything from leukemia to sickle cell anemia, then you have a shorter leash to take them in with any given fever. But for the otherwise healthy kids, just remember, fever is our friend. Do not fear fever. You know, it's amazing the things that I've seen people do, from dunking kids in ice water, which, I can't imagine anything worse to being sick as a child than having somebody just dunk me in a bath of ice water. But if your child loves it and it makes him feel better, do that. I've had people tell me they put Vicks on the feet. Vicks doesn't do anything even on the chest. So on the feet, it just makes them stink. What makes them stink worse? Putting onions in the socks and putting the socks in warm water. Not making this stuff up. There's some folklore that believes that that will draw the fever out. It won't. But if you find something that seems to make your child feel better in the middle of an illness, because honestly, for healthy children who are vaccinated, almost all fevers are routine and self-limited and go away by themselves. And if you can make your child feel a little bit better in the course of that, do that. Well, this has been Doc and Roll for episode 1. I hope you enjoyed it. Next time I'll mute my phone. I'm really surprised none of my cats have made an appearance. I have 8 cats, by the way. So, yeah, crazy cat person. I'm sure we'll have a cat episode at some point. If you like this, tell people about it. Ask people to subscribe. You subscribe. And hope you have a great day.